My name is Daniel Webb, and I'm in the heart of Africa, exploring Kenya's wild landscapes, capturing its iconic wildlife and telling you the story of frontline conservation. In this video, I'm at a private wildlife conservancy that plays an important role in facilitating the movement of wildlife in southern Kenya. It provides animals a sanctuary escaping the rapid urban development of Nairobi and the deadly Mombasa highway. And it also harbours endangered species whose populations are at risk of extinction. Join me as we have a look at the ongoing conservation efforts happening here to help save Kenya's wildlife. Welcome to Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy. Kenya is famous for its glamorous national parks and reserves like the Masai Mara and Amboseli. But actually, the vast majority of wildlife populations occur outside of these protected areas. It's estimated that 70% of Kenya's wildlife exist within human-modified rangelands. But as these populations exist outside of the protected areas, they're not entitled to the same level of protection, and conservation efforts aren't necessarily going to be targeted towards them. Therefore, it's important that conservation isn't just focused on the glamorous national parks and reserves, but the country as a whole, and this is where private wildlife conservancies come into play. Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy is located 43 kilometres southeast of Nairobi CBD in Machakos County along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. It's about 16 square kilometres in size and is characterised by semi-arid savanna, bushland and riverine woodland. And it makes up part of the greater Athi ecosystem that plays an important role as a wildlife corridor, helping to support the migration of herbivores during the wet season. So let me hand you over to my very good looking friend who's going to tell you all about the athikapiti. But before I do that, there is just one thing I want to say. Come on, you gunners! So out there are the Athikapiti Plains. They stretch from Nairobi National Park in the north to the Ngong Hills in the east and encompass 6 different counties, covering an area of 2,200 square kilometres. The name Kapiti derives from the Maasai word Kapiti, which means plains, as originally these lands belonged to the Maasai people pre-colonisation. The plains serve as an important wildlife corridor that large migratory herbivores use to travel between Nairobi National Park and the Amboseli ecosystem. During the dry season, the herds can be found in Nairobi National Park, but once the rains arrive, the herds move on and they disperse into the Athikapiti ecosystem, where they take advantage of the shorter, more nutritious grasses that are found across the plains. But despite its clear ecological importance, the Athikapiti Plains are at risk of fragmentation from the rapid urban expansion of Nairobi. The development of heavy industry, quarrying and the construction of infrastructure all threaten to disrupt the migratory routes that the large herbivores use that have existed for generations. The Nairobi-Mombasa highway cuts straight through the middle of the Athikapiti, and unfortunately there's a lot of roadkill incidents along that highway, which has contributed to the population decline of not just the herbivores but some of the carnivores as well. There was one study conducted here along a 60-kilometre stretch of the road that found 218 roadkill incidents between 2020 and 2023. The vast majority of which was zebra, but animals like giraffe, hyena and wildebeest are being caught by fast-moving traffic as well. And quite recently, something that had happened a couple of months ago, it ruined my day when I heard about this as well. There's a cheetah that had been using the area to raise her cubs here in Lukenya, and unfortunately not too long ago she was found dead along the Nairobi-Mombasa highway. But wait, because Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy have camera traps set up on water troughs, and just this morning this video was sent. We've got 2 cheetahs back at the conservancy, which is just fantastic news. And You know, it's always great to see nature recovering by itself, and it'd be great if these two could stay alive so I can go see them and film them. That'd be pretty cool. But anyway, sorry for interrupting myself. Let's get back to the video. Scavengers like hyenas and the critically endangered vultures are particularly vulnerable to roadside mortality, as their reliance on roadkill carcasses increases their exposure to fast-moving traffic. So what's being done to protect this wildlife migration corridor? Now, this is a bit of a mouthful, but the Athikapitiwildlife Conservancies Association is a collection of 16 private conservancies, including Lukenya, that has been established to coordinate conservation efforts through initiatives like joint game counts, something that we'll be taking a look at later on. But that's enough of me talking. Let's go have a look at some animals, shall we? One of the most common animals we get here in Lukenya is, of course, the zebra, each one uniquely identifiable by their stripe pattern. There are 3 species of zebra found across Africa, 2 in Eastern Africa. This particular species are by far the most numerous, the plain zebra. Zebra are usually the first to begin their migration from Nairobi National Park in October, when the short rains fall. They disperse southeast into the Athi and return to Nairobi in December for the short dry season. In March, the long wet season begins, and once again the zebra leave the park, heading back out into the Athi and returning in May once the rains have subsided. Zebra are what are known as pioneer grazers. Due to their super efficient digestive system, they are able to take advantage of taller, coarser grasses that aren't as nutrient rich as shorter grasses. As they clear away the fibrous upper layers of vegetation, it allows shorter grasses to grow in their stead, paving the way for other herbivores to join the feast. The wildebeest are usually second to follow the zebra in their migration. So one of the ugly 5, the wildebeest, they've actually suffered quite drastic population declines in this part of Kenya. As I mentioned just earlier, they follow the zebra in their migration, so they leave Nairobi National Park slightly later in December, and they have their calving season out here on the plains between January, February and March. Here in Lukenya, we've got 6 wildebeest that we're quite proud of. 4 of them are adults and 2 of them were calves that were born just a couple of months ago. The main wildebeest herd comprises of the dominant male and 2 females who have had a calf each. The other wildebeest, a male, was driven off by the dominant male, and he's actually been adopted by one of the zebra herds, so he spends his days following them guys around. Found on the Conservancy's logo, Lukenya is also home to the world's largest species of antelope, the eland. Bulls can reach heights of 1.6 metres at the shoulder and weigh well over 900 kilos. But despite their size, they are surprisingly agile, capable of jumping up to 2.5 metres when startled. Both sexes exhibit horns with a steady spinal ridge, although the male's horns are shorter and thicker than the female's. Eland congregate in massive herds for protection. We estimate our herd here to be well over 100 strong. So, just behind me here, there's 4 or 5 adult giraffes and there's a couple babies there. These guys are Maasai giraffes. And you can tell they're Maasai from their distinctive jagged leaf-like pattern on their bodies. Now Maasai giraffe, they're actually endangered. And they're the tallest species of giraffe as well, growing up to 5.8 metres in height. You can see the bull just here behind me. You can tell he's a bull because not only is he the biggest, but he's also got a darker pattern on his body. They're on the move. Right, so this little guy, I'm pretty sure is a baby brown house snake. And they're not venomous. They're pretty much harmless to humans. And as a matter of fact, this guy is my very first snake in Africa. I haven't caught a snake yet, which I'm quite happy about. Ever since the rains have come, in the last couple of weeks or so, the amount of reptiles out and about has significantly increased. I've been catching little house geckos around the house, and now a house snake. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he's a baby because apparently these guys are really good at pest control, killing rats and that sort of thing. But I think this guy might be a little too small to be eating rats, to be honest with you. But he's still cool nonetheless. I just found him in a crevice on the wall over there. And he's been pretty timid, to be fair. So I don't want to disturb him much longer. So say goodbye to my little friend. Let's put him back. For us ornithologists out there, Lukenya is a bird watcher's paradise. To give you an idea of their diversity, iNaturalist reckons over 170 species have been observed in the general area. Since arriving to Kenya, I've absolutely fallen in love with the birds over here. So here's a little compilation of my top birding highlights from the Conservancy. As I explore around Lukenya, sometimes it's a little bit like stepping back in time, because here, dinosaurs still walk the earth. Reminiscent of the extinct Gallimimus, the ostrich is the largest bird species on the planet. The males are dressed fabulously in their black and white plumage, whilst the females, on the other hand, could have made a bit more of an effort. Stalking the grasslands of Lukenya, the largest flying bird in Africa is the Kori bustard. The IUCN classifies this species as near threatened, as a result of habitat loss from cattle grazing and agricultural development. But if you were searching for truly a modern dinosaur, the secretary bird resembles a creature from a lost world. Setting off just after dawn, mated pairs prowl the savanna for small mammals, insects and reptiles. These guys are snake hunters, and their method of hunting is certainly prehistoric, kicking, stomping and clawing their prey to death, just like a velociraptor. But unfortunately, secretary birds are at risk of suffering the same fate as their reptilian cousins. Listed as endangered by the IUCN, the secretary bird faces similar threats to the Kori bustard. Habitat loss and fragmentation by roads and the overgrazing of grasslands by livestock all threaten this iconic bird with extinction. Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy is home to 2 breeding pairs of secretary birds who are regularly monitored by those on the front line of wildlife protection, the rangers. Lukenya's rangers are at the heart of the Conservancy's conservation efforts. Through daily patrols, they monitor the animals, checking for ill or injured individuals, protect habitats and act as the first line of defence against illegal activities. Being so close to population centres, poachers are a huge issue in the Athikapiti ecosystem. Snares are used to catch and kill wildlife for bushmeat. Removal of snares and security patrols help to reduce the number of wildlife lost to poaching. Anyway, I'm bored of my own voice now. Let's hear from the rangers themselves.
Hello, my name is Margaret Wangare. I'm a conservation scout here at Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy, Malinda Ranch. We would like to welcome you to come and enjoy our diverse animals that we have here. We are happy to be among the women in conservation, taking care of the wild, being part of nature and ensuring that our nature is thriving together. Yes, thank you.
Oh, hello, good people. My name is Naira. I'm a ranger here at Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy. My role is to carry out regular patrols, and I'm very, very happy to be part of this conservation, whereby we are going to take care of this environment for the future generation.
As I mentioned at the start of the video, the Athikapiti Wildlife Conservancies Association hosts joint game counts across the various conservancies who make up the ecosystem. Hosted 3 times a year, the event brings together landowners, researchers, conservationists and volunteers to monitor the wildlife populations of the Athikapiti. The survey helps provide vital information on species abundance, distribution and population trends, helping conservationists understand how the animals are responding to the various threats they are faced with. And the final protective measure that Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy is implementing is me. I'm here conducting some scientific research. I'm conducting a biodiversity assessment that's going to go into creating a conservation management plan, which will help direct conservation efforts over the next 5 years or so. And I'm going to be going into a bit more detail on the research I'm doing and the data collection methods in my next video. So stay tuned for that. But I want to thank you all for watching. Asante sana. And I'm going to enjoy this sunset. I want to give everybody at Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy a massive thank you for making things like this possible, especially the rangers. And for my Kenyan audience, if you're interested in coming to the Athikapiti or Lukenya Wildlife Conservancy, the next game count happens on the 20th of June. It's a great way to get involved with conservation. Details can be found in the description below. But that's all from me. I will see you next time in the wild.